All right. If you could just give me a wave to let me know whether you can still hear fine. I don't want to start if we're still, okay, perfect. All right. So we've done the land acknowledgement, so we'll move into adoption of the agenda. And the recommendation is that the agenda be adopted as presented. Oh, okay. Late edition, is it time sensitive? It still has.
Mayor, we do have one addition of late item for the February 24th.
Oh, that's right. Okay, sorry, that's what I thought you were wanting to add something. Okay. Sorry, and I even got the printed copy in front of me. All right, so there is a late edition, and that is the February 24th regular meeting of council discussions regarding that. So the recommendation is then that the agenda for the January 27, 2026 regular council meeting be adopted as amended to include the late item. Moved by Councillor Bird, seconded by Councillor Lang. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried, and adoption of the regular council meeting minutes from January 14th, if there are no errors or omissions. Moved by Councillor Bird, seconded by Councillor Lang. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. We have no delegations, so we'll move into information items. I haven't provided a written report tonight because there really wasn't much that happened that between the last meeting and the agenda cutoff. So I'll have quite a lengthy report for next time because it'll include the regional district meeting and Columbia Basin Trust meetings. And so any other reports from members of council? Oh, all right, so then we will move on to the CAO's report.
Thank you, Mayor Hewitt. Just a couple of items. Okay, so to let council know, at your last meeting, you gave readings to repeal of an outdoor burning bylaw. And after that resolution was made, staff spoke with a natural resource officer, and they provided some information on what parts of the act and regulations apply to municipalities and which parts don't, whereby the municipality should enact their own rules. And so with that clarification, we've held off on bringing the outdoor burning bylaw repeal back to council so that staff can have a discussion with the RDCK Fire Department and determine the best way to proceed. So bear with us, and you should have something back in front of council in February or early March. And that is all of the updates from staff. Thank you, Mayor Hewitt.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, so then circulation package. Looks like just a single item in there for this meeting, and that is the Community Sustainable Living Advisory Committee financial projections and scenario consideration that I had referenced at the last meeting, and members of council had indicated that they wanted to see. So if you want staff to reach out to the regional district and get some more information, please let staff know, or if you have any pointed questions that you would like them to ask in advance of having a fulsome discussion on that. Anyone? Councillor Bird?
Through the chair, I guess this is valuable. It gives us the financial projections and what has occurred what will occur in terms of the financing of the, it's not a commission, what is it, the, advisory? It's not a commission, it's a
Advisory committee.
committee. So what that means in terms, with several municipality or regional districts opting out of the service, what that means in terms of the finance, but I'm not very clear on exactly how it has, where it benefits us, maybe the transportation aspect of things, but it would be nice to get a nice little précis of exactly what that service, how it has been important to Kaslo, or in what ways is Kaslo benefiting from the service as it is. That I'm not very clear on, just from reading this, doesn't give me enough information about that. So if staff would give us the Coles notes on how it is benefiting Kaslo to this point, because now we know how much it'll cost.
Yep. Right, so I know in the past, with our past council, manager Sudan did come and present on this committee, on the commission. So I'm sure that she would be willing to come and give our council some information. So if we want to give direction to staff to coordinate having Manager Sudan attend a future meeting? Okay. All right. So we'll just do that as a direction to staff. Is that okay? And you can coordinate with I would suspect it would be her, because I think that Paris Marcia Smith is on leave at the present time, and she's the one who normally looks after things. She's the sustainability and resilience supervisor. But so Manager Sudan is the one who oversees that department. So, all right. So we'll have staff note that. All right. So then that brings us to question period. Are there any questions at this point? And if you could just let me know if anyone online raises their hand or unmutes, that would be great. It's a little harder to see from here. Anyone in the room have questions? Right. Then we shall move into business. First item is the fees and charges amendment bylaw for adoption. So the recommendation is that the fees and charges amendment bylaw number 1331-2025, amendment number 6 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Byrd, seconded by Councillor Brown. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And the next one is for adoption as well. The recommendation is that bylaw consolidation and revision authority bylaw number 1322-2025 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Byrd, seconded by Councillor Lang. All those in favor? Is carried. Next item is Art and Legacy Park. The Arts and Heritage Committee met and reviewed the submissions that were through that came to us through the North Kootenay Lake Arts and Heritage Council. And we have the following recommendations: that the village approve the installation of a wood carving depicting a bear beneath a tree in Legacy Park as the community's 2026 public art initiative, and further, that village staff work with the artist to confirm installation and insurance requirements and execute an agreement prior to installation. Moved by Councillor Lang, seconded by Councillor Brown. Any discussion? All those in favor? That motion is carried. 7.4, council procedures bylaw. Have we received any public input besides what we had previously received from Ms. Malik?
That is all of the public
That is
input we've
all the public
received.
input. All right. And council had a couple of meetings to have discussion about that. So the recommendation is that council give the third reading to council procedures bylaw 1323, 2025. Moved by Councillor Bird, seconded by Councillor Lang. Any discussion? Councillor Bird.
Through the chair, I was surprised that the addition of the second question period had been removed. Because my memory is when we're all sitting around talking about it, that there was only one councillor who was not in favor of having a question period at the end of the meeting where members of the public could ask questions that were not necessarily to do with what was on the agenda, that they were free to ask any questions of council that they like. And I thought that was a really nice move, and I appreciated it being in there, and now it's gone. So I'd just like to be on record as saying I think if someone's going to stick through a whole council meeting and they want to say something, I want to hear it. And I would like that question periods put back on the agenda at the end as part of our procedures.
First, I'll ask CAO Baker why it was removed, because it did seem to be of the majority of council members that were present at the last meeting, the desire was to have it, but I recall that it was to be related to clarifying questions regarding the activity at the council meeting that night, not on everything, on anything. And I see Councillor Brown shaking his head. So, CEO Beaker.
Thank you, Mayor Hewitt. So council didn't reach a consensus on what direction they wanted to go in, what questions or comments could be asked, or whether to have it or not. There were, there was some that spoke in favor, and then others that didn't necessarily support it. And certainly there wasn't clarity on what council wanted. And so when the bylaw was developed, what was provided to council was kind of all of the fixings, all of the things that council might want to consider. And after the January 14th discussion, it seemed like there was a bit of an appetite to maybe not swing the pendulum all the way the other way from what we have been doing and find some kind of middle ground. So in that spirit, we removed it, not necessarily because that was the direction of council, but to see how council responds to it not being in the bylaw. And if it triggered some feelings that kind of compelled council to make a decision and get really clear on what they wanted.
Right. Did you have supplemental follow-up?
Just through the chair. I appreciate your maneuvering here, Robert. Good one.
Any further discussion? Councillor Brown.
Oh, is it muted?
Thank you.
There we go.
Through the chair, I would just second that. I would also, I was surprised to see that the second clarifying public question or public input period was removed, and I would like to see that added back were I to vote for this to move forward.
Councillor Lang, you weren't able to be here for the last meeting when we had a very robust discussion about the bylaw and the different opportunities for the public to provide their feedback to council. Did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, through the chair, I did send an email to the CAO indicating that I was not in favor of a second question period during the meeting. I think that follows on the heels of what Councillor Leeswood was saying, as far as I can recall. I'm not adamant about refusing a second question period. I just think it's a bit redundant. So I'm willing to go along with whatever council wants at this point.
Okay. So just to recap, the first question period was questions regarding items on the agenda in advance so that members of the public could provide information regarding what was on the agenda, and so they could provide information that maybe council didn't have at the time. Um, and ask questions about items on the agenda. And then the second one, as I stated, was for clarifying questions regarding the motions that were passed during the meeting. If you know, in case somebody didn't hear parts of the meeting or wanted to ask council a clarifying question. And that was my recollection, and I did see that, like I said, that Councillor Brown did concur with that. I saw him shaking his head, but yeah. So if we want that reintroduced, that does somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor. So actually, we're in the middle of a motion, right? Because it was moved and seconded to move to third reading. So we need to figure out how to.
Councillor Brown has made a motion to amend the main motion that would include the second input session within the bylaw.
Okay,
And so.
all right.
there can-
So moving an amendment, so to give third reading to the bylaw as amended to include a second public input session at the end of the meeting. So, so that was moved by Councillor Brown and seconding for that amendment to add the second.
I'll second the amendment.
Okay, so on the amendment, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, would you like your negative vote recorded, Councillor Lang?
No, that won't be
All
necessary.
right. So then on the amended motion to give third reading to the procedures bylaw as amended. So it's already been moved and seconded. So it's just, if there's no further discussion, call the question. All those in favor? That motion passes. Council remuneration. So this is for council to consider the recommendations presented in the Council Remuneration Task Force's final report. And public input was invited through January 20th, and none has been received. So is there any, before I read the recommendation, is there any comments, questions, input from members of council? Councillor Bird.
Through the chair. I would to publicly thank the committee. That was Steve Anderson and Jeff Davey and
Tammy Horick.
yeah, that's it would be nice if they each got a written notice from the mayor, perhaps, that thanking them for their service on this.
That motion was made at the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. And just as a follow-up, as in the verbal part of my report last month, I indicated I was going to the celebration for Eva Kellerman's retirement. And I had opportunity to personally see both Steve Anderson and Tammy Horick, and I did express in person my appreciation, and I did speak to Jeff Davey online at the last week's Chamber of Commerce meeting, and also expressed council's appreciation for their work. So, yeah, that has been done.
Good.
All right. And on the changes to the bylaw themselves, do you anyone have any comments? Do you want staff to walk through it at all? The highlighted changes were in the staff report. So, okay. I wonder if everybody realizes that there will no longer be any any stipend for council members who attend conferences. So it's basically part of your stipend, although the way I read it, and maybe CAO Baker can confirm, the committee was steering us towards not making it part of the remuneration bylaw, but doing a standalone policy for training and travel, which would cover that kind of thing. So if council would like staff to work on that or not, that was that's what I took out of that, because they stressed several times about training. So just wondered what people's thoughts. Yes.
So from what I understand, the task force took the number of days that a council member might attend AKBLG or UBCM and took the $75 per day that each council member would receive for attending those conventions, and they added it to the base stipend for council and the mayor. And if council would like to not only increase their base stipend, but also receive a daily rate for attending conventions or meetings, then it should be reflected in the bylaw as part of the total compensation package.
Okay. All right. My only concern is if we're trying to attract young people in advance of the next election, base stipend has been increased, but any training that is done will result in them having to do that without any further stipend to cover them. It would just be the travel expenses and the meal allowance for those days gone. So if you attended UBCM, which is five business days, then you're an entire week off work without any pay from your. But the recommendation is that staff develop a draft council remuneration policy and amendments to the council remuneration bylaw based on the task force's recommendation, and further that staff return the draft policy and bylaw amendments to council for review and consideration at a future meeting. Moved by Councillor Bird. Seconded by Councillor Lang. Any discussion? Councillor Brown.
Through the chair. I do agree with what you're saying, Mayor Hewitt. It is difficult for a councillor to take time off of a full-time job to be able to attend some of the conventions or learning opportunities. So a stipend is helpful. I will also say that we do have learning opportunities that have been highlighted for us, and one of the biggest impediments is actually just even being able to get time off at work when we have AKBLG and UBCM, and we also want to take time for our personal, families. having learning opportunities or conferences during work days doesn't sometimes the per diem isn't the most challenging aspect for younger people to attend these. It's actually being able to have a full-time job or something that prevents them from being able to actually go to these days. So the per diem certainly does help in that, when you do miss time, it helps you to recover some of those finances. But it's also I've been finding, for example, the LGLA course in March. I would love to attend, but you just have to look at how many days off of vacation you get from your work, which you end up taking vacation days for opportunities like that.
Right, so any further discussion on the motion? And it will come back to us for review and consideration at a future meeting. So if you want to take another look at it, and CAO Baker will have a revised bylaw for us to review. Might be easier when we look at it in full and consider all the implications. So if there's no further discussion, we'll call the question. All those in favor? And it's carried. Next item is winter in the forest. So this is to consider whether to support winter in the forest. So we had the coordinator attend an events committee meeting, and we went over many of the items that they are regarding the event, and CAO Baker was there as well, and we've come up with have some recommendations that council approve the provision of an in-kind public works, labor and equipment support for the 2026 Winter in the Forest Festival up to a maximum value of $5,000, and further that staff prepare and execute an agreement with the Winter in the Forest event organizers governing the use of village land at the Kaslo Aerodrome, including terms related to in-kind public works support, insurance, indemnification, regulatory compliance, and all other legal and operational conditions deemed necessary. And further, that staff advised the Winter in the Forest event organizers that beginning in 2026, all planning requests and coordination with the village must be initiated no later than October 31st each year to allow sufficient time for review, operational planning, and council decision-making. Moved by Councillor Lang. Okay, seeing no seconder, that motion dies.
Second for discussion.
Second for discussion, Councillor Berg. Any discussion?
So the first question I have is, this is a long-standing festival. It goes back, I think, to 2002, most years. But this is the first time, and it was my recommendation to the organizers to get in touch with the events committee, and whether the events committee, of which you and Molly are the main people on that committee, whether you appreciated that. Was that a good plan? Was that something that you welcomed, or was that just adding to the workload? And so part of this motion is that it gets referred to the events committee in October, which I think is a grand idea. Assuming that the events committee welcomes being brought in this way, which is the first time in 25 years that this has been the case. So that's my question to you as a member of the events committee.
Yes, and that's why, well, we're suggesting support of the event. The coordinator who attended had, at that point, very limited information because the timeline was was very short, so it was really difficult to come up with a lot of information. He didn't have a lot of information to impart to us because the events committee has just been brought into it. It would have been the same for staff if they had received the same thing and been asked to act on it. Limited information, no budget. And staff had taken a bit of time in between it being referred and that meeting to put together what the financial contribution or the public works value was to the event in the past several years. And so this was in conjunction with discussion with CAO Baker regarding those elements and the need for time, regardless if it went through the events committee. There does require to be more lead up time because public works does need to be scheduled. This year, we at this point don't have snow, and hopefully that will change for the date of the event. But we were universal in our support of the event because it is a long-standing event. We didn't just say, no, you don't have enough information for us. We took a leap and said with the limited information that he was able to provide, that we were recommending support of the event. Is that what you were asking?
Yes.
Hence the recommendation that this come forward, and that was in cooperation with staff because CAO Baker is the one who manages staff, so not our committee. So we leaned on him for that part of the recommendation. Supplemental?
A couple of other comments. For what about the airport closure, for the actual period of time for that day. In years past, I was always told, because for many years I was the organizer of the festival, I was always told that it's not really an issue to close the airspace because it is known to be closed in the wintertime. Although a note would go out to the appropriate authorities that there was a festival going on, but in fact, during the winter, it is a closed airport. That was, unless that's changed, because surely it's not, it's obviously not maintained to be an active airport in the wintertime.
So I will let CAO Baker speak to that because he's, with his past experience, he has more knowledge on the operation of the aerodrome than we do. CAO Baker, did you want to speak to that? Because I did ask that pointed question at our meeting.
So, Mayor Hewitt, should avoid using the word closed for the airport. The airport's never closed. It's open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, unless a giant X is placed on the ends of the runway, and we advise NAV Canada accordingly. So the airport's open. And one of the challenges we have with allowing the airport, including the runway, to be used is that it's generally speaking, it's not permitted by aviation regulations. No person or animal or thing is allowed to occupy the runway without the permission of, in this case, the village. And so the village can provide permission, and yet every other day of the year, you wouldn't want anyone occupying the runway because it increases. Even in winter, it might be low, but it increases the possibility of a runway incursion in which you have an aircraft coming into land and someone walking across it who innocently doesn't know the aircraft is coming and can lead to significant issues. So generally speaking, I would encourage the village to not permit activities on the airport, particularly the runway, period, because you don't want to encourage those activities, even though it's could be perceived as low risk in the winter. There's also one other just quick comment to make. there are aircraft owners who use the runway with skis on their aircraft. And when people walk across the snow, or the village has cleared a part of it, but not all of it, and there's snowbanks that have been built up at one end of the runway, it can affect the usability of the runway the remainder of the winter season.
That answer your questions?
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion? Councillor Lang.
Yeah, through the chair. Is it not possible to have the festival and not go on the runway?
Like I had indicated, the organizer who met with us had very limited information, didn't really even have access to an accurate map. And so it was really hard for the committee to make, other than a basic recommendation of support, given the longstanding event. Because there wasn't even that information, and I had not been. So, yeah.
Can I offer?
Yes, you please go ahead, CEO Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Hewitt. So in response to Councillor Lang's comment, could the event not occur on the runway? Of course, it's totally possible. What might make sense is for council to proceed this year as is, and ensure that the village has an opportunity to meet with event organizers earlier in the planning process to explore those kind of opportunities, which I believe aligns with part of the recommendation suggesting that October 31st, a conversation occur.
So
Good.
essentially it's status quo for this year, and just more lead up time to know what the exact requests are for 2027 should the event be planned again. Councillor Bird.
Through the chair, just another clarification. It says in the staff report that there was the festival was never charged an event fee, which is $275. I know in 2003, we were asked to provide the $275, and I tried to check the bank records, but you can't go back that far. But it was definitely budgeted for the $275. And then my notes for 2024 were that the village waived the fee. So it had certainly been something that we were expected to pay. And then for some reason in 2024, it was waived. And 2025, it was the community forest that organized it. So I don't know if they paid it or not. I don't have those budgets.
Okay, so CEO Baker looked back in his records, the records that he had access to find that. So, all right. So for the recommendation that's on currently before us, is there any further discussion? All right, call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. And then the last recommendation is that the special event fee of $275 a day as set out in the village's fees and charges bylaw be applied to the 2026 Winter in the Forest Festival. By Councillor Bird, and was that Councillor Lang? Was that okay? Seconded by Councillor Lang. Any discussion? All those in favor? Is carried. And then our late item. So CAO Baker has
7.7.
7.7. Oh, that's where, okay, sorry. All right. Thought that was the same one. All right, so council meeting schedule. Recommended that the February 3rd, 2026 committee of the whole meeting be canceled and a public open house be scheduled for February to present council's strategic priorities and receive public input for the 2026 budget. Moved by Councillor Brown, second by Councillor Lang. Any discussion? All those in favor? That motion carries. And then the late item. So CAO Baker has an opportunity to take a training session that week of the council meeting. So I said that I agreed that we need to allow him the opportunity to take that training, so that the recommendation is that the February 24th, 2026 regular council meeting be canceled. Moved by Councillor Lang, seconded by Councillor Brown. Any discussion? All those in favor? That motion is carried. And now our in-camera notice, that recommendation is that the January 27th, 2026 regular council meeting be closed to the public pursuant to the Community Charter Provisions 91A. Personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality, and further that persons other than council members and municipal officers be excluded from the meeting. Moved by Councillor Lang, seconded by Councillor Brown. Any discussion? All those in favor? That motion is carried. So the meeting is. Now, are we in recess or we're adjourned?
We take a recess.
I don't know if this
Okay.
is appropriate, but I think there's a typo in the procedures details. Item 91. If you can look at it, but it seems like that there's some confused language in that particular item 91.
Yeah, we can take a look. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil. All right, so we're going in camera. Thank you for attending the meeting this evening. I think the front door is unlocked if that's more convenient for you to go out that